I think my mother, more than anybody else. She told us stories when we were kids about writers and their lives. She loved Charles Dickens. She was always talking about him, what he accomplished, how his novels reached the people. And she told us that famous story about Dickens' novel, The Old Curiosity Shop. I don't know if you know the story, but Dickens wrote it chapter by chapter, and people in America were waiting on the pier in New York City for the last chapter of The Old Curiosity Shop because they wanted to know whether Little Nell, the main character, was dead or alive. They wanted to know whether she survived. And when the ship came close to the harbor, the people screamed from the pier, "Is Little Nell dead?" And the captain on board the ship called out, "Yes, Little Nell is dead." And the people tore the pier apart. They rioted. And I remember my mother telling me that story, and I thought, wow, if I could write books that had that kind of power, that would make people care that much about a character, that they would actually get upset, what a wonderful thing that would be. So I think a lot happened that day when my mother told me that story. I thought, you know, if fiction could have that power, how wonderful, how incredible. And of course she told me other stories about the reforms that came about because of Dickens' novels. You know, he wrote Oliver Twist, and this led to reforms in orphanages and so forth. And again, I thought, wow, the power of literature, it's really, really great. I don't remember many other people in my childhood really encouraging me to write. I came from a working class background, and generally when you said you wanted to be a writer, people thought you were bragging or dreaming. They would say, in essence, what makes you think you can be a writer? And I found that very discouraging, but I generally ignored it. And my mother, of course, always believed that I could do anything I wanted to do, and that's what she taught me when I was a child, that there were no limits. You could reach for the sky. And I found that very, very encouraging. That stood by me as I grew up.